This is Italian Olympic athlete Angela Carini crying after only lasting 45 seconds in a ring with what most people thought was a trans woman, but actually turns out to be an intersex person. I literally got hundreds of messages asking me to talk about this topic over the past few days, but I had to wait until I got more information. Apparently, this person that she was fighting against has SWI Syndrome, but I don't know how to pronounce that. SWI Syndrome. This condition is a rare genetic condition in which people have an X chromosome and a Y chromosome, which is the usual pattern for males, but look female. They have normal reproductive female organs, including uterus, fallopian tubes, and a vagina. Some people are still saying that this person is male because they have XY chromosomes. Some are saying that she is female because she has a vagina, but it seems like this is actually some sort of intersex condition. Dr. Deborah So on X said this. She is a specialist in gender studies, like an actual doctor in gender studies. Being born with androgen insensitivity syndrome doesn't mean a person is female. They have XY chromosomes and partially or undescended testes. Some people with AIS still respond to testosterone during development, hence the unfair physical advantage. Colin Wright, who's also a friend of mine and a biologist, said this Olympic fight where a male was allowed to fight against a female should have never been allowed. It is the result of a widespread media lie that males with certain DSDs are simply females with naturally high testosterone. I mean, this just proves what I've been saying all along. Being born with a penis or a vagina actually doesn't give you advantages or disadvantages. In fact, it's being born or going through male puberty and having higher testosterone levels that make the rest of your body develop more male-like. Bigger hands, bigger muscles, bigger lungs, bigger heart, all that other stuff that I've been saying for years. I will say that in this case, this does definitely seem to be some kind of hormonal advantage, and it definitely should be looked into more. Imane Khelif, which is the Algerian boxer, has XY chromosomes, and she has a higher level of testosterone. Because I'm not an expert in this, I wanted to see what my friends who are experts in this had to say. My friend Zach said, "I appreciate you covering this issue, Pierce." He's responding to one of the British commentators. 46:XY. SWI syndrome involves no differentiated gonads. There are no testes, no ovaries. This means very, very low androgen levels. No male puberty occurs. No performance advantage. Again, even though I waited a week to talk about this, people still don't know what the hell's going on. Everyone that says that they're an expert, not saying they're not, seems to have a different concept on exactly what's happening here and if it's fair or not. The Italian boxer was quoted saying this after fighting: "I didn't feel like fighting anymore after the first minute. I started to feel a strong pain in my nose, but it's not like me to give up." Somebody posted and suggested that this person that Angela was fighting has to be a biological female because they're from a Muslim country and they would not allow a trans person to compete for them. But someone else countered that opinion and said, what Muslim nation allows their women to dress like this? And then somebody countered that and said, Algeria doesn't require women to wear hijabs. In this photo specifically, this person is in Rome and they can act and dress how they like when they travel. And 3, she is a woman. Then, of course, a number of articles and tweets came out showing photos of this person when they were just a kid. Also, here's a statement that her dad made.
أنا بنتي طفلة ومتربية طفلة وفور وهي متربية على الخدمة تخدم تغني بزاف وتخدم وعندها الحرارة تاع الخدمة تاع العمل تاعها. راهي الطاليانية هي ما طاقتش مش كيف هي ما طاقتش. هذا الفرق. And
after all of this, the International Boxing Committee, the International Boxing Association, made an official statement regarding this, and they said, on the 24th of March 2023, which was last year, IBA disqualified athletes Lin Yuting and Imane Khelif from the International Boxing Association's Women's World Boxing Championships in India 2023. This disqualification was a result of their failure to meet the eligibility criteria for participating in the women's competition as set and laid out by the IBA regulations. IBA remains committed in assuring competitive fairness in all our events. We absolutely condemn the inconsistencies in eligibility to compete in the boxing competition held in the Paris Olympic Games 2024. To reiterate, both people post-testing did not meet the required eligibility criteria to compete within the female category of our respective events. They were not allowed to compete in female categories that the IBA threw, but they were allowed to compete in the Olympics. Now, after reading that and listening listening to what the 3 or 4 of my specialist friends had to say on Twitter, I still don't know what the hell is going on. Maybe we just shouldn't allow these types of people to compete if we don't know what the hell is going on. Like, if we don't know for sure, maybe the answer just should be no. And society is utterly and completely exhausted by this entire tolerance epidemic. And again, this also just continues to prove my point that I've said from the beginning when I started talking about this issue, trans women or intersex people in sports. It's not the genitals that make somebody have the advantage. It's the way the rest of the body develops. Males, if they do go through male puberty, on average have bigger hearts, bigger lungs, bigger hands, more red blood cells, somebody told me. I don't know if that's true. They're usually taller, bigger muscles. They take bigger craps even. This report that I'm about to read is about how lowering testosterone isn't enough to let trans women compete against biological women. Transgender women in the female category of sport, perspectives on testosterone suppression and performance advantage. Here we report the current evidence that shows the biological advantage, most notably in terms of muscle mass and strength, conferred by male puberty and thus enjoyed by most transgender women, is only minimally reduced when testosterone is suppressed as per current sporting guidelines for trans athletes. Did this person go through male puberty? Do they have a higher level of testosterone? Much higher than the average female. One thing that I did find hilarious though was that everybody, almost everybody on the left, all of a sudden knew what a woman was again. She has a vagina and ovaries. She's a woman. Well, I thought that's not what makes you a woman.
كانت صعيبة بزاف خصوصا انك تسكن في قرية فلاحية وقرية نائية.
I'm getting like lesbian top vibes from this person. They might very well, or she might very well be like a woman, whatever, but I feel like she's just probably a dyke. Here's the story that people were missing. And apparently this person is actually fully male. Taiwanese boxer Lin Yuting was thrust into the middle of a gender eligibility controversy before the 2024 Paris Olympics. This was the other person that I just mentioned along with Imane. Lin has not been in a firestorm like the Algerian boxer, but Lin was also deemed to have male chromosomes in that same 2023 Women's World Championship, which both fighters were disqualified. A spokesperson for the Olympics said, everyone competing in the women's category is complying with the competition eligibility rules. They are women in their passports, and it is stated that this is the case that they are female. So both of them failed their gender tests, but were allowed to compete.
It demonstrated the chromosomes that we refer to within the technical and competition rules that make both boxers ineligible.
Somebody said, according to the media, it's okay for intersex individuals to beat up women, technically, because they're technically not men. Remember all those woke activists that were claiming that lesbians were non-men loving other non-men? I didn't know exactly how or where this was going to lead us, but I knew it was going to be bad. Now we know. Maybe this person isn't a woman. Maybe they're just a non-man, and to these people, that's good enough. And because of all of this nonsense and the tolerant behavior that we have to abide by, we have more stories coming out like this. Canadian Powerlifting Union suspends trans-identified male for 6 months after threatening women who had been critical of his participation in female sports. So, we want our female safe spaces. You get angry and threaten women, thus proving our point about women needing our safe spaces. You're an idiot. This trans woman was suspended for 6 months after targeting several women with abuse, death threats, and harassment. The panel deemed this person's words as harmful, disparaging, insulting, or otherwise negative. This person also apparently threatened to unalive themselves if they didn't get what they wanted, if they weren't allowed to compete in the female category, which is literal emotion and mental abuse, by the way. April Hutchinson, who recently followed me on Twitter, which is really cool, another Canadian powerlifter, had this to say in response. Yes, it is true. I received a 2-year suspension for speaking up about men competing in the women's category, and the trans-identifying male received only 6 months for making death threats towards myself and Premier Danielle Smith, as well as harassing other members of the Canadian whatever it is. Here's what the International Olympic Committee spokesperson had to say about all of this.
This is a minefield, and unfortunately, as with all minefields, we want a simple explanation. Everyone wants a black and white explanation of how we can determine this. That explanation does not exist, neither in the scientific community nor anywhere else. As I've said before, if we can find a consensus, and we will work towards a consensus, we will certainly work to apply that. Clearly, that's not going to happen at these games, but this is a question also, I guess, in all sports. I think we are open to listen to anyone with a solution to that question.
That's what I have to say. I don't think I feel any differently than I did last week. I think I stand by what I said. No matter what genitals a person has, that doesn't necessarily determine if they will have a disadvantage or an advantage in competing in certain sports. What matters is if they have a higher testosterone level, a higher estrogen level, and if they have gone through male puberty. Should this be allowed? Should intersex people go through a similar process to trans people that are transitioning when it comes to competing in female sports? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you are not following me on TikTok, make sure to do that because I post content on there that I don't post on here. And other than that, I will see you guys back here on a Sunday with a brand new video. Until then, I love you. Keep calling out the bullshit. Bye.